topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Tampa. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show for the last, I can't believe it, 16 years. Next month will be 17 years. We have been bringing you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This is the last Monday of the month, and that means our favorite attorney, Debbie Baker. Good morning, Debbie.
Hey, Steve. Good morning. 17 years, and you were 12 when you started, right?
Exactly. And you know what? Flattery will get you everywhere. So I owe you big time for that one. What is your cat's name?
Pip, P-I-P, short for Pipsqueak. He was like 6 months old when I got him, and he squeaks. He does squeak. So Pip, he's no longer a Pipsqueak, but he does squeak.
That is a beautiful
he heard Zoom.
cat.
He heard the Zoom, and he says, "Okay, it's time for me to come and make my presence known."
Debbie, your story is so amazing, and I don't know if you've looked at your numbers lately, but your audience is starting to grow.
Yay!
And there's a lot of people out there that we might have gone a few months without talking about your story, but your story is so amazing. And when you you're an estate planning attorney. When you hire an estate planning attorney, I believe with all my heart that attorney has to have a heart for others, and you definitely have that. Tell people about where you came from and where you are now.
Over the weekend, 2 people have asked me, have I always, I said, yes, since the day I was
kidding.
born. Yeah, always. So it's like such a silly question. So where I came from. Well, I grew up on a small farm in the middle of New York City, and you know that whole story. But anyway, so my experience of a career for over 30 years was executive coaching, and law school was kind of something I'd thought about. And we probably talked about this before. First time I thought about it, because I really wanted to be of service, and everything I've always done has always been about service, was back when I first graduated from undergraduate school, and I got accepted to law school with about 72 hours notice, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then I thought about it 2 other times, and by the time I went, it was the right time. In hindsight, it was clear that those first 3 times weren't the right time. I didn't want it badly enough. But in December of 2008, which is interestingly, I say December 8th, which will be what? 17 years, couple weeks, in a time of prayer, when I asked God, do I keep coaching or do I get a job? He told me to go to law school, which to say the least was startling and unanticipated. I had a list called Never Doing Now, where all the things I said I was going to do on that list. So if people asked me about it, I could say I'm not doing it with clear conscience, with no regrets, with no feeling that I should. And this time he took my Never Doing Now list of law school, and he put it on my now list. And then it was just easy because I asked him like when, and he said, get ready. And it was such an interesting thing because as soon as I heard that, I relaxed. I didn't know what it meant, and I figured I could do it. So the journey was thinking about going to law school. So I'm going to law school. I'm going to law school in Florida. I'm going to law school wherever I have to go, because it was all a walk of faith. And I graduated in May of 2015. Being a coach, I hired a coach for the bar prep, and I hired a coach. I hired a hypnotist for a couple of time sessions to get rid of whatever is in the way. And I was very blessed. I passed the bar the first time, which many, many more people have been impressed with than I have. In hindsight, I get it. At the time, it was just kind of what I did. The interesting thing, Steve, which came up over the weekend with some friends, is what I don't think about consciously or often is the number of people. I mean, there aren't, but I can think of 3 or 4 people that were inspired by my journey to law school to finish undergraduate degrees and master's degrees. And one person actually went to law school, being inspired by my going to law school, which was never in my thinking, wasn't part of my motivation. And it's so humbling to think that, like, God spread the gift out to give other people that impetus or confidence. And you and I have talked about it. It would be I think you've told me once, Sophia's thought about going to law school or something, and she says she's too old.
Yes.
And it just makes me laugh. It's like it really isn't, if you want to do it badly enough. So law school became something I wanted to do badly enough, and estate planning is something that, in all in the estate planning, in the probate, in the elder law, all gives me the access to be of service to somebody who in need. Sometimes in need, like probate proceedings or elder law. Sometimes just in awareness that it's time I put my estate plan in place, because somebody might die suddenly and I need to have something in place. But it's all about the service. So that's my story, and it's been.
Well, I bring
glorious.
that up, Debbie, because there's so many people out there that will tell themselves, I want to do this, but I'm too late in life. And I just want people to know that you did it and that it's never too late.
It's not too late.
No.
Thank you.
I think it's amazing what you have done. And you are so perfect for estate planning. It fits who you are, because you are always, we've been doing the show now for several years, and you're about helping others. You'll even say things like, if you just have a question, call me up, and you're such a people person, and being a life coach, I bet has really helped you in your practice.
It does. It does. It gives me. I remember to be compassionate. Actually, I am very compassionate, but there are times when I need to, step in and step in. I need to voice the idea. I think I've told you, when somebody dies, the last thing you should need to do is call an attorney. So even if your loved one had some kind of plan and you want to call the attorney to ask if there's something to do, if there's anything you need to do now, hopefully it's a plan where the attorney can say, call me in 90 days. Just go grieve. Just go grieve. Take care of the family, whatever it is. And call me in 90 days. Right now, there is nothing for you to do. And rarely, even without a plan, there's nothing you have to do right away. And if you've got a plan, it's just breathe for the next 90 days. Call me in 90 days and we'll talk about what you need. So I love being able to tell people that.
Debbie, one of the things I think about is people who are holding off getting a plan. And I think they don't realize how expensive, especially long-term care is now. There's so many things to plan about, and people, I can see by the text that we get, people put it off and put it off. And one of the things I want to do with this show is wake people up to stop waiting and
Yeah.
doing something now. And just because it says estate planning doesn't mean you've got to be a multimillionaire to have a plan.
No. No. If you have $500 in the bank account, you should have, if nothing else, you should have it beneficiary designated. So somebody, and people don't do that, or they think because they own it jointly that, of course, that's easy. And then they don't consider what happens if the joint owners die together and what happens to it. And there's no reason they should. I mean, there's people do their plan often because somebody in their world has died and now they see the mess that they're in. They'll do it because somebody's sick and they realize they don't have, right now I have potential clients. The wife has her husband's healthcare directive, but she doesn't have a power of attorney for him. So she can't do anything financially. I mean, she can't sell their house if need be, or do Medicaid planning if need be without a power of attorney, and she wasn't aware of that. He is potentially going to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's, which is not the end of the world as long as he does his documents while he's still got capacity. So people do it when they're in a crisis, which is not the time to do it. And then you meet the people who say, I've been avoiding this for years and I have you around to it and I'm going to call and we're going to do it. They've told me they don't think they can afford it. One of the things I love about working for myself is I can always make the money work. We can always figure something out about fees. And yeah, and then people occasionally will come and say, well, I have a plan, but I did it when my children were 2 and 3, and now they're 22 and 23. Do I need a new plan? And the answer is probably they think they need it because they named guardians for their children originally, which is now irrelevant. But they need it because they might have grandchildren and they haven't made any anticipatory measures. Or people who don't have children who think, well, I'm leaving my brother my house in the will. And I said, well, that's great, but he'll have to go through probate. Oh, I never thought about that. Or I'm going to deed it to him. I said, well, what happens if he dies before you and he's got no children? You're still in a probate situation and you won't be here, but why would you have anybody you love have to spend money to get done what you want to get done? So, like I said, I'm always open for a conversation. And it doesn't matter, I'm only licensed in Florida, so I can't give you legal advice for anywhere else. And I can give you guidance. What questions do you ask? What do you have to know? I might be able to find you a referral. And in Florida, would I like to work with everybody who calls me? Sure. But if they find somebody else that they're more comfortable with, God bless them. Just go get it done. In fact, I'm telling people a great thing to do this month or even toward the end of the year is find a person you love who doesn't have a plan and say, listen, if you're using money as an excuse, I'll pay for it. I just want you to have it. Who knows if anybody will take me up on it or take advantage of that offer to somebody, but just get it done. Just get it done.
What do you think is the biggest surprise that people have about estate planning?
I think sometimes it's how difficult it is to choose the people they want to have serve in the roles. Sometimes people think they need to name their eldest child when they wouldn't necessarily trust their eldest child with a nickel, much less the right to make financial decisions for them. Conversely, they have a hard time dealing with the fact that they're confronting the fact that they wouldn't trust their eldest child or one of their children with a nickel. What does that say about them? So in family situations, that's one of the big stumbling blocks. That's what holds people up. Parents with minor children don't know who to appoint to raise their children. They wouldn't trust their siblings with it. They feel that they're imposing on friends to ask, which I can understand. They're willing to appoint their parents, but they certainly understand that A, their parents are older than them, okay, and B, their 60 or 70-year-old parents might not want to raise children. I mean, might not be willing to take it on. It's not the money. It really isn't the money. It's those hard decisions. Who do we choose? More difficult, I think, for people who are single. Very difficult for people who move to Florida, who don't have family in Florida, or good friends yet in Florida. Yeah, I would say that those are the toughest decisions.
Debbie,
and my job is to walk them through it. It's just to walk them through it.
absolutely. You know, we hear a lot about living wills.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't even know what a living will is.
No, they collapse. A last will and testament, which is for what happens after you pass, with a living will is very active while you're living. So a living will is your statement of what you want to have happen, how you want to be cared for at the end of life. And the language in the document is when your physician and a consulting physician have agreed that there's no reasonable medical probability of recovery. When I first heard that expression, I thought, what a lawyer expression. And what I've learned is the last thing you'd want to do is have a doctor guarantee you your loved one's going to live and then they die, or guarantee you that your loved one's going to pass and then they continue living, however you define that. So the living will is the one where you choose when you would want any kind of life support measures, okay? So oxygen is not a life support. It's not considered life support. But intubation for food is considered life support, okay? Or kidney dialysis, or CPR, or antibiotics when you have an infection. I had a friend years ago whose mother had dementia. She was in New York. Her mom was here in Florida. They called her from the facility, the memory care unit her mother was in, at 3:00 in the morning to tell them her mother was struggling, and took them to the hospital. Did they want them to treat her? Did they want them to give her antibiotics? She didn't have time to think and say no. And there probably wasn't a living will that had that on there, no antibiotics. And so her mother lived for another year. And I think it was the biggest regret her daughter had. So you give Sophia the right to say, if the doctors say this, and I have an end stage condition, which is like end stage kidney failure, let's say, or a terminal condition, you've got stage 4 cancer and chemotherapy is not going to work, or you have a persistent vegetative state, that they are to remove all life support, and you get to check no CPR or yes CPR, no antibiotics or yes antibiotics. And your healthcare surrogate who's going to implement this can hold this up to the doctors and the family and say, this is what Steve wants. And this is what we're going to do. And then the doctor can't say, but we can do this. I understand you can do this. You can get rid of his pneumonia, but you're not making him better. You're not going to take him off the breathing. You're not going to take him off oxygen. He's not going to be able to breathe on his own. We're not doing this. A wonderful book for anybody who likes to read about this is called Medicine in the 11th Hour by Sarita, Suriti, Puri, Puri. It's all about palliative care. And she came to palliative care as her specialty because she saw all the people who came to her emergency room who hadn't told anybody anything, and the family argued. And she watched this poor patient being kept alive because one person said, no, it's time to let her go. And the other person said, no, we're going to keep her alive. So it's your right to say, keep me alive, but at least tell somebody you want that. So that's the living will, which is only good while you're still living. And your last will is what you need afterwards. And people confuse them all the time.
We just got a question in. What is a durable power of attorney?
Okay.
And what are some of the key things that people should know about that?
A durable power of attorney is one that continues in effect after somebody becomes incapacitated. Oh, in Florida, they only do durable powers of attorney. In other states, they do what they call springing powers of attorney, which don't go into effect until somebody does become incapacitated. Florida changed their law in 2011, I believe, I've never researched it, because if you became incapacitated today and you needed Sophia to do something, then Sophia has to wait until somebody determines that you're incapacitated. And that doesn't mean mentally incapacitated. That means you're in a coma and you haven't come out in 24 hours or something like that. So you can't make a decision. So the durable power of attorney is designed to continue to be in effect after you may become incapacitated. And it gives somebody the right to make financial decisions in a wide gamut of areas for you in that state. It also gives them the right, so they can put money, putting money, you can put money in anybody's bank account, but you can take money out of a bank account. You can sell a house, buy a car, sell a car, access digital assets. You can, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of all the things you could do. There's a great number of things. And in Florida, you have to give your power of attorney very specifically certain rights. So the biggest thing I put into powers of attorney is the right that person can do government benefit planning for you in the event you need it. Because often if you don't have that and you need government benefits, somebody's got to apply for guardianship. The power of attorney might run by itself $1,000. Guardianship runs like $10,000. So, but I hope that answers that question of a power. And durable means it just continues after somebody becomes incapacitated. And Rebel is telling us again, our time is up, and she's really annoying.
First of all, I want to wish you and your family a very blessed Thanksgiving. I think that we are blessed to have you as our expert in estate planning, because we have an older audience and it's very important. And I guess we'll see you next month.
December 29th.
This month is going by so fast. I just want to tell you, we love you. You're the best.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next month.
Yeah. Say you and Sophia have a great time. Rebel.
Tell people how they can reach you.
813-586-1332 is my phone number. And it's Deb Baker, 2 B's in the middle, at London, like the city, londonbakerlaw.com. And the website is londonbakerlaw.com. And like I said, if you have a question, by all means, reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer your question to the best of my ability. And if I don't have an answer, I'll do my best to find you one. So everybody have a blessed week and a good Thanksgiving.
You are the best. We'll see you next month. Thank
See you
you,
next
Debbie.
week.
God bless. That's attorney Debbie Baker. Folks, if you need an estate planning attorney in Florida, she is without a doubt the best. She's been with us for several years. We're gonna go to break. We'll be right back with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.